I'm the tour program manager with the Exchange District Business Improvement Zone. I got my start in history and actually archives when I was around 18. I worked for the museum in my hometown and took the slightly overly ambitious task of digitizing our old newspaper collection. It took a very long time, but it was worth it, and it's sort of a fun part of my background. I have a background in history. I studied at the University of Winnipeg, so I have my BA from there. But for the past 3 years, I have been leading and writing the historic walking tours through the Exchange District. For those that don't know, the Exchange District is a National Historic Site. There are about 120 designated heritage buildings within a 30-block neighborhood. And as part of that, we lead tours of the area. And we've been trying to develop new and exciting tours over the past couple of years. So we now have 4 new tours, including an architectural tour of the area and one about women's history downtown. And it's probably the hard part of my job is doing this research. I get to go to the archives, I get to look around, find new stories that people maybe haven't heard before. It's really exciting, but I couldn't do it if the archives didn't exist. So some of our content, such as a new tour stop we wrote about the construction scandals surrounding Winnipeg's Gingerbread City Hall, is pulled basically directly from archival records. So that's always fun when we can get them right from the source, but for a variety of reasons, I can't always make it downtown to the archives. So then I turn to books and articles and historic reports the city puts out. And all of these too rely on information within the city's archives. So in short, my job can't exist without them. But it's the same for a lot of tour companies in Winnipeg. You can't interpret history when that history is not available. At the moment, there are around 8 dedicated tour companies in Winnipeg, and that is not including the historic sites that offer tours throughout the summer. And there is a growing demand. Tourism is a huge industry in Manitoba, and it keeps going up. So a component of this then is an increased interest in heritage tourism, which is people that come to a place to experience its culture, its history, and see why that's significant. And you can see that in our tour numbers alone. This is going to sound like I'm bragging, and I kind of am. But in 2017, we had 2,000 people come by on tours. In 2018, it was just under 3,000. So that's a huge gap in a year alone. We're seeing more interest for 2019 as well. And what I'm seeing then is there are people in Winnipeg and from afar that care about what Winnipeg has to offer and they care about our history. And most exciting is a lot of them are actually quite young. We take around 1,000 students a year out on tours, often between grade 5 to grade 12, and they're passionate and curious and they want to know more about Winnipeg. Some of them undertake their research projects either on their own or for school to learn more. So it's important then that I and heritage workers in Winnipeg have access to the archives because there's still stories left to interpret and things left to tell and clearly information that has been left out of Winnipeg's history overall. But it's also important that everyone else be able to visit. What we need then is an archive that is accessible and inviting, and that's not what we have at the moment. And I'm going to agree with everyone else at the panel here that the archives we have right now are sort of embarrassing. The location itself is out of the way. Myrtle Street is not easy to get to by bus, especially if you're coming from the University of Winnipeg, where the Archival Studies program is. And if you choose to drive instead of bus, there's not a lot of parking available. So the first obstacle to getting there is getting there. So even for myself, it's the biggest hindrance, and I like archival research. To the city's credit, Winnipeg in Focus, their online archive, has been an incredible resource. It's great for doing research remotely, but it's not a cure-all. You can't digitize everything. That would take a whole lot of work for the staff they have. And just because you put it online doesn't mean it's going to be online forever. Things can go wrong. But beyond all that, if you do get there, the space isn't exactly welcoming. I don't know if you've used the research room there, but it is a table and some computers. There's not a lot of space. So you can't bring a research group. You can't bring a tour group through. You can't bring schools through. So you can't do the public outreach you need. So how are we supposed to highlight what the city's archives have to offer when we can't get people there in the first place? The public awareness doesn't exist. When I tell people we have a city archives on tours, people sometimes seem surprised. And the public awareness can't be there if the archives isn't moved to a more suitable location. And it's not as if there isn't any viable location for it at the moment. I'm going to throw my lot in here with the Carnegie Library. The Carnegie Library is the archive's former home. The space still exists, and to my knowledge, it's still actually being maintained. It's still there. So the reason I'm advocating for this is not just that I think it would help the archives to move back, but also that would help the Carnegie. The two can sort of go hand in hand. For those that don't know about the Carnegie Library, it was built in 1905. It was funded by Andrew Carnegie, and for a time, it was the second largest library in Canada. And it functioned as a library until 1995, and then it was the archive's full-time home until they were forced to move to their temporary location. But the building has been vacant since then, and it's not as if the building is in shambles, it just needs a new purpose. That's sort of where the difficulty is lying. The Carnegie was purpose-built as a library. It's difficult to just alter the interior to make it fit something else. It's not cost-effective, and given that the building has heritage status, you actually can't go in and just remove the interior to make it an office building. So it is sitting vacant. And it will be until we move maybe the archives back into it. And I will say somewhat selfishly, this has the added bonus of putting the archives closer to my office. But that also means it will be closer to City Hall, as well as major bus routes and more available street parking. So I think the archives and the Carnegie could work together in a very beneficial way. But above all else, I'd like the archives to be a facility that we are proud of and that we can show off, and one that's functional for everyone in Winnipeg to use. Concerning the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the commission held within the archives, we need people to be able to get into that. But also we have stuff like the 100th anniversary of the Winnipeg General Strike this year. Coming up is Manitoba's 150th and then Winnipeg's. There's centennials that we need to celebrate and stories that we still need to tell. So this is something that we can just sit on as records deteriorate, and actually attendance at the archives continues to drop. Winnipeg deserves a city that is proud of its history and works to protect it, and I hope that someday soon we can see the archives move to a more suitable home and one that we can all be proud of. Thank you.